Gee, it sure is boring around here.
My boy,
Ah!
this piece is what all true warriors strive for. Sorry, couldn't help myself.
Hewy, what are you doing here?
Hey Isaac, sorry for coming in on such short notice, but I was kind of hoping to ask if we could do another co-review together. I mean, it's been some time since we did anything together on your show.
Why didn't you just call and ask me instead of just barging in here uninvited?
My video communication system is sadly on the fritz at the moment, and I don't exactly have the money to get it fixed anytime soon.
Oh, that makes sense. I guess I could do something with you. What did you have in mind?
Well, do you remember the name I mentioned during our co-review of The Jungle King from my show, Orlando Corradi?
Kinda.
Well, let me give you a brief history lesson on the guy to catch up to speed. Orlando Corradi is an Italian film director, animator, and film distributor who, along with Japanese collaborator Kenichi Tominaga, was known for acquiring the rights to Japanese anime cartoons to distribute in Italy and the rest of Europe. While they would meet the demand for Japanese animated cartoons, they would eventually start producing their own animated cartoon series during the 1980s under the newly founded studio Mondo TV.
Oh yeah, it's slowly coming back to me. But, well, what did they do again?
Isaac, I'm surprised at you. Sure, you remember at least two of the movies they've done.
Like... Oh no. God damn it, why?
Yep, strap yourself in, Isaac, because we're going back into knockoff territory.
Well, that's just great. Alright, what do you have for me?
Okay, are you ready for this? Simba, the King Lion.
That's it? That's the title? That couldn't be any more blatant. They just straight up used the name Simba?
Well, Simba's really just the Swahili word for lion, so it isn't technically copyrighted.
Okay, fair enough. But I still have a bad feeling about this. I mean, you already said it's a little like The Lion King, though who knows what I'll expect.
Oh, believe me, Isaac, you're in for one hell of a wild ride.
Then what are we waiting for? This is... Simba the King Lion. Well, I can tell this intro is rather bland. It just looks like stock clips from whatever episode they got them from. And that music is starting to drone on me.
At least the original Italian intro had actual singing in it.
Ma che silenzio nella giungla che c'è, di strano cosa starà mai succedendo, un grande evento di sicuro perché tutti aspettano.
Well, at any rate, I guess we're starting off with poachers going after... Rip-off Mufasa, I guess? Damn! They actually showed someone getting shot! In cold blood, no less! You sure this is by the same people who did the animated Titanic movies?
What? Didn't the way the character's eyes are drawn give it away?
It's just so bizarre. I mean, those movies wouldn't allow anyone to die. Yet here we are with a character death within the first minute of the episode.
The loud gunshot echoes throughout the jungle, pretty much alerting all the animals to the immediate danger.
And I guess the gunman decided to bail on trying to capture Rip-Off Mufasa, as we never see them again.
What do you mean, again? We never see them, period. The closest thing we see to any human contact is a rifle barrel.
Well, hopefully that doesn't result in anything awkward. Also, I find it funny that they shot him in the head, and yet he's still barely alive.
So, as the Lion King lays dying, he asks of his friends, who just so happen to be Bagheera, Baloo, Kaa, and the Wolf Clan from the Jungle Book, to watch over his 3 cubs and teach them to be as wise and brave as he was.
Speaking of which, is it just me, or do their designs look really familiar?
Nope, he hasn't come around here. Don't tell me he's up to his old tricks again.
And I want you to remember that what I did was for your own good. You too will realize this in time as you grow older and wiser.
Wait a minute, they're from the 1989 Jungle Book anime. Yeah, Jungle Book Shonen Mowgli. It's the exact same character models, with some of them just colored slightly different. Wouldn't this be copyright infringement or something?
Actually, Mondo TV does own the distribution rights for the Jungle Book anime, so I guess that means they were allowed to use the character models from that series for this one. Though for some reason they completely changed Bagheera's design, not just by changing him from a panther to a leopard, but by giving him a completely new model, which they didn't even need to when they kept the original model to use for other panthers later on. Seriously, what the hell? I mean, why change a character's design completely if you were just going to use his original design anyway? What sense does that even make?
And now we see who was responsible for luring the poachers to them: Shere Khan! Wait, Shere Khan? How are you here? I thought you died in the anime. Yeah, Mowgli killed you and skinned you to make a rug. Also, for some reason, they changed the name of his hyena henchman, Tabaki, to Curdy. Maybe this is supposed to be a prequel to the anime? That would make sense. It wouldn't explain why some characters look different, or why Tabaki has a different name, but at least it would explain why...
Who among us will take charge of their education?
That's obvious. Seems to me the wolves are the best teachers. Your niece already raised the little boy Mowgli with great success.
Oh, okay, they mentioned Mowgli, so this isn't a prequel. But then if that's the case, why the hell is Akela the leader again? I mean, didn't he step down and Mowgli's adopted mother Luri take over as leader in the anime? And since when were she and Akela related? She's his niece now all of a sudden? In fact, is she even still called Luri in this version?
Actually, she's just called Mother Wolf now.
Wonderful. So not only is this a knockoff of The Lion King, but it's also supposed to be a sequel to an anime adaptation. A sequel that has little to do with the original, aside from the character names and their designs. Well, most of them anyway. While they agreed to let Mother Wolf, who I'm just gonna call Luri anyway, take care of the lion cubs, they notice that the third cub, Simba, is missing. And they're told this by a crow named Ludwig, wearing a top hat and ascot. Wait, why does that crow have clothes on? That wasn't a thing in the anime. What are they trying to pull here?
I think I may have seen him from some Hans Christian Andersen anime or something, but I'm not too sure since I really couldn't find anything on him. Anyway, the other animals go looking for Simba, who they soon discover fast asleep on top of a trap made by human hunters, but luckily, with the help from an elephant named Tim, they're able to get him off by squirting him with water from his trunk. Wouldn't it have been a lot simpler if he had just grabbed Simba with his trunk instead? I mean, isn't squirting him kinda unnecessary?
And as they inform him about how dangerous this was, Simba learns the horrid truth of what became of his father.
I know it's terrible, little one, so don't forget you must always beware of man and Shere Khan.
I just want my papa.
On that note, here we see more of Shere Khan, who could be out with his army of monkeys to take over the jungle now, but he's too busy laying about. You know, he could make sure no one opposes him by killing Simba and his siblings. Is he just gonna sit around and do nothing?
That is pretty much all he does throughout most of the series. Well, that and insult Curdy whenever he gets the chance.
Yet he sure loves getting his feet licked by him. Anyway, why don't we pick it up a little by introducing our other lead character?
Indeed, this is Simba's best friend Buckshot, a deer fawn who is also in the care of Mother Wolf after his parents were killed by hunters, and who also just so happens to be of royal blood. Gee, why does that sound so familiar?
He must be the Bambi of this series, except both his parents are dead, instead of just his mother.
No kidding. I mean, his original name in the Italian version was Bimbo, but I guess you can figure out why it was changed for the English dub, huh? Not just for the obvious Disney reference, I mean.
Yeah, because here in America, Bimbo means...
Anyway, if Buckshot's English dub voice sounds familiar to any of you, that's because it was provided by Canadian voice actor Daniel Brochu, who you may remember as the voice of Buster Baxter from the Arthur animated series on PBS.
It's his first day out here, and he still has a lot to learn. Today, we're visiting all the friends he hasn't met yet. This should protect you from those smelly diapers. Parents were taken away by hunters, but someday I'll get...
Kinda surreal hearing the voice of Buster speak of revenge. I can just imagine him declaring war on the invisible humans he can only see with his video camera. The rest of the episode is spent mostly on building character, like the friendship that builds between Simba and Buckshot, while also giving us a better idea on where this takes place. You'd think this would be India, much like in the Jungle Book, and yes, there are lions that live there, but then you have giraffes, which wouldn't normally live there, so for all we know, this is either somewhere in Africa or some made-up jungle that has all kinds of animals.
Continuity? What's that? Throughout the episode, we get acquainted with the other characters who will appear periodically throughout the show, such as Alex and Nurse, a pair of squirrel medics, Augustine, a highly educated owl, indicated by the fact that he wears a pair of glasses along with a graduation cap and gown, Oman, the friendly crocodile who gives Simba and Buckshot rides on his back, and a giraffe named Savannah who only ever makes one appearance in the episode and for some reason is never seen or mentioned ever again throughout the series. What a waste of a potentially interesting character.
Plus, the closest we get to a confrontation with Shere Khan and his goons in the first episode isn't even incidental on Simba's end. The monkeys see him and Buckshot crossing the river, as if he was walking on water, when again he was just riding Ullman's back. It's enough to spook them into thinking the spirit of his father has returned, and that just leads to Curdy being scolded for believing the monkeys. Does Shere Khan have anything about him that could remotely make him threatening?
Well, Mother Wolf does have a flashback to when Simba's father saved her and her cubs from Shere Khan once. Does that count?
Mommy,
A little bit, but if anything, that gives me a reason to like the father a little more, since we started with him dead without knowing much about him. And with that, they hope that Simba can learn to be just as wonderful as his father was. From here on, the series goes into your lesson of the day shtick, as episode 2 teaches us about the circle of life of all things, and is also an anti-drug PSA, with Simba and Buckshot eating from a field of plants that cause them to hallucinate.
Simba, my friend, are you ready to go after those who murdered our parents?
I want nothing more than revenge against Shere Khan and his hyena lackey Curdy, and any human brandishing arms.
Why are they still swearing revenge, even during the hallucination?
Better yet, why are they hallucinating that the other is all grown up and looks exactly like their father?
Well, duh. All animals look alike. I mean, Loki here looks exactly like the snow leopard god Harkoa. And I mean exactly like her, but way smaller. Ow, 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 ow!
That's what you get for being speciesist, dude.
Bite me.
So Simba and Buckshot pretty much spend the bulk of the episode hallucinating that they're fighting Shere Khan and avenging their parents, all the while the real Shere Khan is taking a nap. Yeah, he's not scheming or looking to kill Simba, he's just taking a nap. Our villain, ladies and gentlemen!
Yeah, Shere Khan is apparently lazy as all hell, as nearly half the series he does nothing but let other people do his bidding, which just results in the same thing happening. Failure. Also, each episode tries throwing in a major life lesson of some kind. In this case, as I mentioned, something similar to the circle of life, for while Simba is yelling at his siblings for being cowards, they get Kaa and Augustine to teach him about how animals can and will eat each other if they wanted to.
You always have to be alert, son. We're all part of the food chain, and you have to know how to defend yourself if you want to survive in the jungle, and you must learn to hunt. I'll ask Bagheera to start giving you hunting lessons. And you, Buckshot, you already know how to find plants and grasses, but you need to learn which ones are good for you to eat and which ones are harmful. All living things have their purpose, and certain ones exist to feed animals, while others aren't meant to be eaten at all.
Now, I do find it neat that characters are willing to help Simba learn to become a better lion, though it's a little surreal that this series would even delve into such a topic, considering these characters never eat each other.
Well, not unless you count the dead rabbit Bagheera brings back for Simba, who we clearly see ripping it to pieces and eating it.
Yeah, that's pretty graphic for a kid's show.
I guess some foreign cartoons have a few different standards than here in America.
So while many of the episodes behave like this, wherein it involves a major life lesson for Simba, while having minor encounters with Shere Khan and his cronies, there are some episodes that bring actual additions. Case in point, episode 5, we get not 1, not 2, but 4 new characters.
The first two are Thin and XL, a duo of pirate rats, or pirates as I like to call them, who had fled the ship they were on to avoid getting eaten by the captain's cat and make their fortune by looking for treasure. Something tells me that they might be the conceptual ancestors of the sailor mice from the later two Titanic movies. Then there's Toy, a small toy poodle who ran away to find freedom after being mistreated by his human owners, who apparently live in Africa, I guess.
Oh, and let's not forget that he also has this strange obsession over this little toy ball he carries around with him. And I mean it. In nearly every episode, he'll be playing with his ball, bouncing it with his nose or on his back, or just rolling it around on the ground with his paws. And he is so possessive over it. It even serves as a plot device in some episodes.
And then there's Canary, a small yellow canary with a musical note necklace who loves to sing and constantly gets into arguments with Toy either over his obsession with his ball or when Toy insults her singing ability.
More or less, the episode serves to introduce the three who arrived in this land and get them settled in their new homes. After that, we get a few episodes where Simba and Buckshot get superpowers.
Yup, if you thought this cartoon was like a bad fanfiction already, this is where it really goes nuts. So at first it seems like any other episode, with Simba and his friends meeting a famous frog tenor who sounds awfully familiar.
What's all the commotion in my pond? Ah, I see your friend is aware of my great reputation, and soon the whole world will know of my unique talent.
Hi-ho, Rip-Off Kermit the Frog here, reminding you that you're watching an Italian knockoff cartoon! Yay! Anyway, after he tries to sing a song for them, a group of fireflies offer to bring Simba and his friends to their kingdom where they meet their queen, who shows them their ways of living.
But it just sounds like the usual friendship theme they've been toting this entire time.
Except after that, they reveal that the Big Dipper constellation is somehow sentient and has chosen him to receive her blessing so he can become the wise and kind king he is bound to be.
I will be happy to grant your wish, Majesty of the Kingdom of Light.
Well, that just seems quite the upgrade. I mean, okay, he did do a lot of good in the jungle, but that's quite a reach to be bringing in supernatural elements in a show that has both normal and anthropomorphic animals. Not even Leo was this nuts. Oh, God, I just realized something.
What's that?
This series is reminding me heavily of Jungle Emperor Leo in quite a few ways. For starters, the jungle being ruled by a mighty lion who gets killed by a poacher, so it gets passed on to his son. And from there, he would constantly be at odds with humans and other animals who may threaten him or his friends, often in odd to surreal situations. Of course, Simba doesn't really act like a tough kid until a bit later, whereas Leo was like that all the time. And of course, instead of having a variety of villains or humans to interact with, he just has Shere Khan in gang most of the time. But even so, as we would later see in this show, the way they portray Simba as the one lion who can accomplish so much as the sole ruler of the jungle Just makes me think they wanted to try being like Leo, even if the scenarios turn out even more surreal or too safe for its own good. But in any case, Leo had to work his butt off to make sure his friends were safe. He was constantly fighting and outwitting his enemies with his strength and cunning alone, while still maintaining the makings of a kind ruler. Here, Simba does a few heroic deeds that aren't actually the most impressive in the world, and he is blessed with superpowers? How does that even work?
Yeah, it's kind of like if I was throwing a parade for simply putting this Coke can in the recycling bin. Ooh, look, a balloon shaped like me!
I got participation. Though I suppose, if I want to be fair, he wasn't the only one to get an upgrade. That's right, Buckshot gets superpowers too, which I guess makes sense since he was a prince, and he receives it from...
I'm glad you've heeded my magic call.
The Great Deku Tree?
Actually, this is Arbor, the king of the trees, who tells Buckshot that he knew of his parents who had come visit him and also reveals the truth behind their deaths. For the beginning, Buckshot said his parents were killed by poachers, but in reality it was by Shere Khan.
Aside from the revelation of him getting powers, this is honestly the first time I feel the series earns its use of a tragic backstory. And again, being graphic about it.
Stay back!
Your mother passed away right where you are now.
Like, I'm rather surprised. The creators are actually showing commitment to having some mature themes in writing. I mean, it's not the best in the world, but geez, where was this when they did Titanic? They clearly were okay with having death present in a children's cartoon, so why not there as well? Toward the end, Buckshot resolves to be just as courageous as Simba, and Arbor honors his wishes by granting him the same kind of powers as Simba, which take the form of leaves on his chest. So now that our two leads have great power behind them, what do they do next? Spend an entire episode celebrating their new upgrades. It seems innocent enough, but where did they get all those instruments? Why do they have human instruments at all when they seem to despise humans? Also, kangaroos do not live in this region! Oh, and Arbor can apparently move, so he is not a stationary tree.
Maybe he's one of those trees from that one Aqua Teen episode where they go to tree court?
Sign the sheet.
Anywhere or...
Not in the hair.
And for a while, it's just more of the same shtick of Simba and friends learning about the jungle and how to live in it, while meeting other animals with questionable designs. Seriously, why do those caterpillars have noses like tentacles the octopus? They are not mammals!
Would you rather they look more like this?
You know what? No. This is fine, actually. Just keep that thing far away from me. They also seem to include a lot of implications of death, too. Or the closest thing to it without thinking of showing it. And then there's stuff like...
Here we go round the mulberry bush. The monkey chased the weasel. The monkey thought it was
What the flying frick is this?
Looks like a bunch of underage animal cubs twerking to the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel to me.
Seriously? I know Leo got silly at times, but not like this. I don't want to see baby animals shaking what their mamas gave them at me. My God, where is your foster mother?
Besides, I think this song better suits the scene.
Drop it low, girl. Drop it low, girl. Drop it low, girl.
Damn you, Hewy!
What can I say, Isaac? Sometimes it's fun to be a bastard.
I swear, this series is schizophrenic with its tone. Because next episode, we actually have a lot of action to it when a group of red dogs show up to try and attack the jungle. Besides the fact the dogs sound like cats, for some reason, they show everyone fighting and even killing some of them? It's just so cool, but it's so dumb. And it's starting with this episode that Simba really starts acting like Leo would as a cub, because even he starts to participate in fights. They really do emulate some of the ways Leo would fight and why. And while the animation quality isn't particularly great, since they tend to reuse animation a lot, you kinda get them wanting to take the animal fights about as seriously as they can, while still being presentable to young audiences.
Yeah, I mean, there's biting, clawing, and even them going for others' throats and trying to tear their flesh off. And if you really want to take this to new heights, the following episode in which Simba is starting to grow a mane with Buckshot growing antlers.
You can come too.
Have you seen your guy's body?
No, our guy is just a floating head.
The two meet the Eagle King, who shows them Simba's original savannah home at the side of Mount Kilimanjaro.
At least we know it is somewhere in or near Africa.
This scene does show some backstory for Simba's father and mother and how she was killed by Shere Khan, and a second tire that up until now we haven't seen or heard about. Gee, I wonder if that'll come into play later on. Anyway, it appears that they once tried to kill Simba and his sisters when they were newly born, and their mother, rip-off Sarabi apparently, was fatally injured by Shere Khan when trying to fight them off.
He's going to be alright. I'll go get help.
What, now he sounds like Dr. Claw?
I'll get you next time, Shere Khan. Next time.
This death apparently causes him to take his cubs and leave the savannah altogether. And either the jungle they ended up in really is still in Africa somewhere, or they somehow walked through several countries just to get to India where the events of the Jungle Book anime had to take place. Then again, this is the same jungle that also has African and Australian creatures, given the kangaroos earlier.
Well, either way, it didn't do them any good, since Shere Khan still managed to track them down and find a way to kill Simba's father anyway.
It's almost like this whole journey was pointless.
Like the Canto Bite scene from The Last Jedi?
Yeah, well, anyway, after many more episodes, including more human shaming when there's a forest fire, an evil fire-spitting cobra, what? And a giant turtle queen that talks about the history of prehistoric life on Earth to the cubs, Simba finally reaches young adulthood, halfway through the series.
For as long as it took to reach this point, I will give the writers credit for actually showing Simba growing into adulthood throughout the series instead of just skipping to it like The Lion King did. What? I'm not trying to defend the series, I'm just saying!
It's also at this point in the series that Shere Khan finally gets off his butt more and becomes more proactive in trying to take over the jungle. And in this episode, he assembles an army to try and fight Simba's in an epic battle. Well, about as epic as the animation will allow it. And after that, Simba starts having a dream about his potential future, one involving romance, it seems. And it just goes on for a little over 5 minutes, and it's all super gushy.
Jeez, Lion's kissing looks so weird, doesn't it?
Oh, and his father speaks to him, just like Mufasa did. Also, his voice is different. Again.
You? I always promised you I'd be here whenever you really needed me or wanted advice, Simba.
I do. I don't know if what I just saw was real or not.
Yes, it is, Simba. You've been given the gift of sight. You're now able to see through time.
What? Another power-up? They really want to outshine any other lions that ever existed with this one. Just how powerful is he gonna get?
Hell, he's already meant to be the quote-unquote king of kings, so I guess incredible powers just come with the territory. Say, wasn't there another figure who went by that title?
Huh. I was gonna say Aslan from the Chronicles of Narnia.
What's the difference?
So now we're at the point where Simba has decided he wants to leave the jungle so he can return to the savannah. Some of his friends volunteer to come with him when that time comes, and together they find someone who knows the way there. A torpedo fish.
For those of you who don't know, a torpedo fish, or electric ray, is a type of stingray that lives around the coasts of northern and western Africa and is known for being capable of producing an electric discharge, much like an electric eel, ranging from 8 to 220 volts, depending on species, used to stun prey and for defense.
And this one defeats Shere Khan by zapping his nose. From there, Simba gets one last music tribute by the Firefly Queen. He would revisit many of his subjects and mingle with them for the last time before he leaves for good, which is awkward when, like with the rabbits, they cry for him leaving despite him having ate one of them as a cub.
Awkward.
By the way, whatever happened to Simba's sisters? Where are Luri's pups? Given that this is a pretty big moment in Simba's life, what with him returning to his homeland and all, they'd want to go along too.
Don't worry, we'll see them again eventually, but right now Simba is to receive another magical gift to use on his journey.
Indeed he does, as Arbor lets him retrieve it by going inside a magical door that opens up in his groin area? Oh god, it's a Trigina!
I got a mangina!
Look, Simba, this magical cape is for you. It's the Sacred King's cape, which can only be worn by the King of the Jungle. It belongs to you now.
What does it do?
It gives you the power to become invisible and escape from danger. It also allows you to protect your friends in a 10-meter radius. This cape will protect you until you reach the savannah. But once there, its magic will disappear.
So not only does he have star power and the ability to see through time, but now he's got a magic cape that can make him invisible? This is overkill at this point. This is the most absurd thing they've done yet.
That's nothing. Wait till you get to the dinosaurs.
Wait, what?